Hey guys, today I'll show you how to create stylized hair, braids, and even realistic hair cards that are ready to be used in games, VRChat, animation, and even 3D printing. And do all of that with just one click. This is the Behemox Hair Generator Add-on for Blender. We've made a video on the past about version 1.0, but Behemox has just released version 2.0 of this add-on, which adds a lot of cool features, such as customizable hair braids and hair cards with texture baking. Go to the link in the description to get the Behemox Hair Generator add-on with 30% discount, using the code LORD. The download will include the add-on file and the full written guide on how to use every feature. To install the add-on, go to Blender, Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, click Install, select the zip file you just downloaded, and click Install Add-on. To activate it, search it for its name and click the checkbox. Once you do that, a new tab will appear in your Tools menu when you press N on your keyboard. To use this add-on, your mesh must have a UV map, but even if you don't have a UV map yet, I'll show you a very simple way to do that. This step is optional, but with this approach you don't have to unwrap your whole character. Select the area of your character that you want the hair to come out from. Press Shift-D, right-click to stop it from moving. Go ahead and separate the inner selection with P by selection. Let's rename this new object to something more intuitive, like hair base, for example. Let's go in Edit mode and hold Alt-F to scale it down just a little bit. I will apply my subdivision modifier since we don't need to edit this anymore. Now I'll go into Edit mode, select all the faces, unwrap. And that's it. This is the base of the hair where the hair strands will come out from. Now in Object mode, select the hair base and click Create Hair. This will set your object as the base for creating the hairstyle and create a hair group. It also creates a collection called Behemox Hair that contains everything related to your hairstyle. Inside it, there's a collection called Hairs Collection, so you can create multiple hair groups and make different styles of hair for the same character, and the Profiles Collection that holds the different styles of customization for each hair strand. It also puts you in the Sculpt mode. In this menu, you can control each curve property for the hair strands that you will be adding. And it depends on the scale you're working with, so give it something like 0.8 and see if that works for you. If it's too short or too long, you can just change that when you're editing the hair strand. The resolution of the curve determines how many points the curve that drives the mesh will have. So if you choose 8 points, you can make 8 bends in the curve, and if you choose 12, you can bend it in more positions. To change the mesh quality, there's a property from the mesh menu that I'll show you later. So a bigger value here is good even if your final mesh will be low poly. So I suggest you try different settings and see what works best for you. By default, the selection type is set to points, but if you want more precision over each hair strand, you can change the mode to select the whole strand individually, which I find easier for most hairstyles that you can do with this tool. Now that you know how to set different properties for your hair strand, let's take a look at the different tools for editing the actual hair. You can add the hair strand one by one or multiple at a time. But since then, this makes them random, and we're working with stylized hair, I prefer to leave it at 1. We can also remove the selected hair strands and add them with a different pattern, but I personally don't use this tool that much. We also have the comb tool, which we use to sculpt the hair strand as if it was a real hair. You can group multiple strands at a time if they are all selected, or use the Select tool to sculpt one strand at a time. The Snake Hook tool allows you to grow a hair strand in the direction you desire, which is cool to make like a ponytail or something like that. We have the Grow and Shrink tool, which is similar to the Snake Hook, but does not change the direction of the curve, so it just grows and shrinks it in the direction it's already pointing. The Pinch tool works better when you have multiple hair strands, and it lets you pinch the hair to a single point. The Puff tool makes the curve of the hair points to their normals, So basically straightening them back to their original position. If your hair is a bit janky with sharp corners, you can use the smooth tool to make them look better without changing their shape. And I use this one a lot. And there's also the slide tool that lets you move the hair strands around without altering their shape. Now let's take a look at all the properties to change the look of the hair. The first option is the profile curve, which lets you choose the shape of the hair strand along the curve. You have many more options if you click the Extra Hair Profiles button. Or if you are a more advanced user, you can also create your own curve in this collection, and it will show up in this menu below. I'll use Profile 1, which is already pretty cool. These three properties affect the distribution of the hair along the curve, so you can have like a thicker base and make it thinner at the ends. And there are some other properties for more advanced users. You can leave the end of the strand open for some customization, change the merge distance, and invert normals. These are useful options for 3D printing. These options determine the resolution of your final mesh. For these options, it's easier to understand what they do with a different profile, so let me select another one. The curliness section lets you twist and curl the hair in different ways. The first property determines how much the hair mesh is twisted around the curve. The offset makes each hair strand start a bit differently than the other one, to make it more natural. Spiral radius makes the hair twist around itself and creates this spiral effect. For this style, it looks better if you increase the resolution of the mesh, but that's up to you. Spiral shape determines if the widest point of the spiral is at the middle of the hair or at the ends. And curl start is an offset to determine where the curl will actually start. So you could have a straight hair and then it's curly only at the ends. And of course, you can still change all of these properties at any time, so you can combine multiple styles at once. Let's quickly create a hair with this tool so I can show you the process and how easy it is. As you can see, using this new approach of duplicating and shrinking the scalp a little bit makes the hair look like it's actually coming from inside the head, and that makes it look a little better in my opinion. For sculpting each hair strand individually, I like to press A twice after I create a hair strand to clear any selection of the previous hair strands, which is this white line right here. Then I create a new hair strand and position it however I like using the comb tool. I would like this one to be a bit longer, so I'll use the grow tool. Now let's say that I want to sculpt the one below, but it's not selected right. So I'll just go ahead and use the select tool to select only the one below. For this, I'll decrease the brush size a little bit. Then we go back to the comb and move it around. Very easy. Another way to select the hair strand is to go into edit mode and select the actual curve, which might be easier for some situations. Here I've created the hair a bit too high on the head, so I can just use the slide tool and make it come out from around the same point as the other ones. Now you just repeat this process until you have the style we are looking for. Okay, that looks cool. Now let's go ahead and mess around with these options and see if I can make it look even better. Try a different profile. That's cool, but I'll go back to that one, which is easier to see. Okay, so it does look good thicker, but I want to remove a little bit from the front. So I'll select this too. And you can also select the curve in edit mode and delete it like this. Whatever way you do it, it's fine. Now that I have the front of the hair done, I will create a new hair group to have a different section of my hair. In object mode, we can do this in two ways. Select the hair base and click Create Hair button again, and this will create a clean hair group with all of the default properties. Or we can copy all options by selecting the existing hair group, duplicating with Shift-D, and then go into edit mode and select all hair strands to delete them. And now we have a different section of the hair, but they all have the same properties. I can still make changes to this group in specific. For example, here I want to make the strands a bit thinner. And this is great for organizing your project and mixing styles. Alright, let's say you finish modeling your hair. Now, let's talk about the options of materials for your hairstyle. For this, let's go into Viewport Shading mode. And you'll notice our hair group already has a gradient material. This is because the first option, basic material, is selected, which is a gradient effect with two colors, one for the root and one for the tip of the hair, and it will blend between the two colors. I find this one pretty cool for anime style hairs. But let's say you want realistic hair for your game. You can use a new feature that's available in version 2.0, which is realistic hair cards. I'll select this hair group at the front and change it to use the second material, which is hair material. This option is similar to normal hair cards, but I think it looks much better because you can have different shapes and you're not stuck to an existing texture. You can customize it, change the colors, and even change the density, so you can be as creative as you want. And the third option is custom material. And whatever material you created will apply for the whole hair group instantly. Another thing you can do, which just became available in version 2.0, is braids. So now you can do basically every possible hairstyle with minimal effort. Just select your hair base again and press Create Braid. And everything is almost the same, but a new menu will appear for modifying the braid's properties. The frequency determines the amount of loops the braid will do around itself. An offset, the shape that tells what part is thinner. You can select where the braid starts and ends, so it could start straight and become a braid at the ends, or have the tips of the hair straight. Of course, all tools work the same for braids and hair cards alike, so you can sculpt it however you want, add or remove them. And then we have more options to customize the braid. But one of the features I like the most is that you can add any object to the braid, like a Suzanne ribbon. So you can really go wild, and you're never short on features for how creative it can be. Now, let's say you finished creating your hairstyle, you got braids, straight hair, and even hair cards on the same character, and you want to export it to Unreal, VRChat, or 3D print it. To do that, you just select the hair group that you want to convert in object mode, and you have a few options. You can convert the hair to mesh, which automatically converts the hair with the mesh resolution you selected, and you can also bake the texture. And this will do exactly that, and create a new texture from the hair properties you selected to a new file with the resolution you choose. So even if you use a hair card material, which is the second option in the material tab, it will create a transparent texture that you can reuse in any game you want. Very easy. If you want to 3D print the hair, these meshes are watertight with all of the default profiles and require just a few clicks to let them ready for printing. For example, you could create a very simple geonode with the Boolean operation and they stop intersecting while still being editable. This add-on makes creating hair in Blender so much easier and faster that now creating hair is the fastest process whenever I make any 3D characters. I'll leave the link in the description with 30% off using the code LORD. So go ahead and tell me what you think about the Behemox Hair Generator. Do you agree with me and think that it's actually that good? Or do you prefer to do all of this process manually? Anyway, that's it. Bye!